Today, I'm joined with Chris and June, so husband and wife couple. This was the second husband and wife couple that I've had on here that trained together with us. Been with us for a few years, both busy working parents, 3-year-old at home. Pretty much looks like you guys have found a good rhythm of balancing coaching and open gym times that kind of keep you relatively consistent, right? June's trained through a back injury, and then I think focusing on kind of building strength, preserving muscle into the kind of later years of your life. And then Chris, you've been focusing a little bit more on putting on size and strength and maybe gaining some body weight, that kind of stuff there. I think you've probably seen some of these other episodes. Really, the main theme is figuring out like showing up, how we do this as working professionals and parents, and how we make
Right.
time for it, prioritize that kind of stuff as well. What your secrets are and what your struggles are a little bit. And so I guess just to kick things off, maybe one of you two could jump in and just give me at least like current state of what life looks like in and out of the gym.
Yeah,
Chris,
June, you want
take
to
it?
start?
Or June?
Sure.
What a gentleman.
Outside of the gym, we have a toddler. He's 3. He's our alarm clock. So he wakes us up anytime from 6 to 6:15, 6:30.
Yeah, we're in that boat too.
We
Early
try
riser.
to get him out of the house to his preschool by 7:30. So Christopher takes him. Some days he's got a bunch of delay tactics. So I need to take him to school, which is around 8:30. And then Christopher is commuting for work. So he's out of the house from like 7:30 to 5:30. I work from home. So I have some flexibility to schedule the open gyms and go to my workouts. But it's been a busy season. I just started a new firm with 2 partners last week. So even though I work from home, there's a lot of work happening. So that's been a challenge to how to stay with the workouts, even though I have flexibility, a full schedule.
Yeah. Sometimes flexibility kind of works against you.
That's right.
And what time of day do you normally train? What's your sweet spot? I know you come in probably somewhere around 9 or 10-ish, something like that is your...
I like that, like 8:30 to 9.
Yeah.
9:30. Yeah.
And that is that more kind of your sweet spot? Or is that just because of the schedule? Like you like trainings after breakfast and that kind of thing?
After breakfast, when the boys at school, I've gone through my first set of emails. I'm waking up, full enough in my belly, and probably the happiest in the morning.
Cool. Chris, how about you? What's life look like right now between commuting and all that stuff?
Yeah, the commuting was definitely a big setback for me just because I thought I had found a rhythm and a little bit of flexibility. I remember when I first started commuting, I said, oh man, I'm not going to be able to make like as many coaching sessions. It's really going to change when I can work out. Probably won't be able to have as strong of sessions. I remember June just like stopping me and saying, wait a minute, you can't start making excuses now for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
You start thinking about a way that you can still move ahead while enduring some of the changes.
Yeah.
And I was starting to brainstorm, when is this going to fit, right? Jason, something that you alluded to that's a big theme, I think, for us is really, we're doing this in finite windows, right? And as parents, we just realized it's not, I could go to the gym Tuesday or Wednesday night.
Yeah.
It's either she's putting our son to bed or I am.
Yeah.
So if I'm not, I can either go to the gym or I can't.
Yeah.
On weekends, we both take advantage of the fact that our toddler still naps. That's like an absolute session, right? As that changes, I think we're starting to learn, okay, when are the times that we can make trade-offs, right? How can we both allow each other the opportunity to work out? And then in an ideal world, we've had a lot of fun working out together. Those are our favorite times to go to the gym and come in together and catch up a little bit and goof around with whoever else is there, but still get a really good workout in. So.
Yeah. And then when do you get your workouts in? Because I remember when we first started, you were in that 6 a.m. group of people, right? Now I see you at different times. What's that look like for you?
Yeah, I try to get one coaching session early in the morning each week. And then it's a mix of evenings and weekends. And it's certainly skewed towards open gyms just because the coaching session is more limited, right?
Yeah.
But having said that, I really do need that at least weekly set of eyes on some of my bigger lifts, just
Yeah.
as the weight goes up or hitting a wall. I really like to have someone. We're both very tactical in how we get input. We wait till the point that we really feel like somebody needs to look at it, and then we go
Yeah.
flag someone to come over and really give us honest feedback on what we're doing.
Yeah. For anyone that's actually like listening on that is not familiar with our model, we have like an upfront where we put a lot of time, like one-on-one time to people up front to try to work with you, build this common language, form standards, all that kind of stuff. And then from there, we design programs for everyone, give them access to it so they can do it with or without us, right? So when we say coaching hours, we have coaches on staff circling around like lifeguards, pretty much like trying to hold you to higher form standards, giving corrections when people want them, because some people don't. They just leave me alone. I want to do my thing. And then making program updates, troubleshooting, all that kind of stuff. And then open gym time is nice because you still have access to your program. You can do this stuff with or without us from anywhere. So we try to build some independence over time. And I think parents are perfect examples of they really need flexibility. They have, like you guys said, very rigid windows of when you can and can't work out. So we don't want to be the bottleneck for you guys. That's why we try to take a little more educational approach, because if we're the bottleneck and you can't do it, you're not going to make any progress that way. So whether you're able to do it with or without us, that's what we're trying to move toward. And I think you guys have found like a good groove in that, like you said, where you know when to come in for the coaching and give you some feedback and maybe adjust your program on your own too, to make sure that you could still do open gym and then circle back around when you need us. So when you guys get to train together, what's that like? Because you said it was like a nice kind of catch up period for you, almost like a little date. So what's that like for you, June?
I like it and I miss it. We haven't been able to do it like 2-3 months now because of the commute. Before I get to that, GTS, just the community, the coaches, the people that show up to work out has been, I think, one of the keys for us, for our commitment to GTS, and the reason why we keep coming back every week. Just the people are amazing, and the group of women that I've gotten to know and that I catch up with every time I'm at the gym, I love it. The people are amazing. So to be able to get that, and on top of that, to have that with my husband, like it's just a really relaxing environment where we can joke around, where we can connect with you, where we can catch up with the coaches. It's a fun, light environment.
Yeah. I might have mentioned this on another podcast, but everything that I do now has to serve multiple purposes. It just, and I feel like my work serves a lot of different purposes. I get the social box checked. I feel like I'm building towards something. I get kind of environment where I'm working out. There's a lot of things that I get from that. And I think the way we tried to design this was a way that you can, it's not like you're trapped with your headphones in. I mean, you could be, but a lot of times people get their social box when they're trapped in an office or working from home and they don't get to talk to anyone. You can check a lot of boxes without feeling guilty of having to do 2 separate visits with people, right?
Yes.
And then even in terms of a date almost for you two, like kind of a little getaway, right?
And I might add, I might add that for a long time, I had worked out in the past. Neither of us were really athletic. Both of us exercise pretty regularly, right? June's run a couple marathons. I would run 3 to 5 miles on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But I knew that I wanted to work on kind of the big muscle lifts. And I also knew that I didn't think I could take deadlifts on my own. That was something to do with people that knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
While I sought this model out, after June gave birth, I was coming back to the gym and she was like, tell me about what you guys are doing again, what you do at the gym. And I went through a little bit of the spiel, right? And she's, I'm interested in that. It's just like, I think because before she was pregnant, she wasn't really thinking about what am I going to do to take it to the next level. But then as she was coming back, it was really, and I think June, at the time you're like reading Outlive, right? So there's this growing awareness that in our 40s, we don't have forever to add muscle mass. This is back to the theme of finite windows. This is the time to do it. And later in life, we can still work out, but we'll be more maintaining strength that we're building. So it's this like dash to a finish line, right? That I think for both of us really creates a sense of urgency. Whereas in your 20s, in my 20s, in my 30s, I didn't really have purpose in going to the gym, right? It's like, I don't know, I wanted to look maybe better than I did.
Yeah.
And now it's bone density and just long-term health, strength. Those are all like things that we share as a couple
Yeah.
that fits into our long-term priority.
Yeah, it's amazing how, and I've seen it too, just my shift in training over the last couple of years with a toddler now, right? Your brain just changes, and you're like, oh, I look at myself now as I'm a professional athlete that has to be ready for game day at all times. The other day, I'm sure you guys have dealt with this too, is that Thiago is getting very fast, right? And he could like get in front of us a little bit, and I'll just walk at a little faster cadence and catch up with him or whatever. But we were in Bass Pro Shop the other day, just walking around there. And he had a little bit of a lead on me. And I was like, all right, now you could tell he starts to run a little bit. And I'm like, oh man, this kid's cooking. Next thing, he's got like a full aisle in front of me and he starts darting down the aisle. And now I'm like, oh geez. So now I'm like trying to run. I see him like down the other aisle, right? Trying to line him up. And he's not listening to me at all. So it's in this thing where I'm like, all of a sudden, I have to change my thought because I can't warm up for that. If you're achy and sore, it's just, you just can't run after a toddler like that. So it made me realize he's only going to get faster and I'm only going to get slower if I don't work on this stuff. It's really had changed because even I've been in the gym for the last probably 10 years. I stopped most additional like sports and that kind of stuff because I just found I was just getting injured and playing with other people. There's not too much you can't control other people's actions, but at least in the gym, if I get hurt, it's my fault, right? So I've stopped a lot of the extracurricular change of direction drills or athletic movements or running, those kind of things to just focus on the gym work, which is good from an aesthetic standpoint and strength. But now I'm realizing I'm lacking in those other areas. So I've been circling around to that the last 2 years, especially this last year as he's getting pretty quick.
And Jason, both of our boys are going to be graduating high school in 15, 16 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So looking forward to that and knowing that we don't want to show up to his high school graduation in like walkers and wheelchairs. We want to show up as cool.
Yeah, we're the cool parents.
That's a huge one for me.
Yeah. So Chris, you found us originally. So this was probably, so before June was pregnant, or maybe when June was pregnant, right? So this is about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And then you took a little brief hiatus and we circled back around. So let's go back to the beginning. How did you find us initially? And then you got started, we pivoted, I think, a little bit, and then we circled back.
Yeah, I think I had sought out another network of gyms that were, again, focused on the big muscles, right? Quads and glutes and chest and the big lifts, right? I think you actually had acquired the gym in Westchester, the location.
Oh, right around the time.
That.
Okay.
And I think I even communicated with the previous owner, and it's like, the group coming in is going to have a similar philosophy, right? And I said,
yeah,
okay, and then I realized you guys had a location, the original location in El Segundo, so it was even closer for me. And that's when I just sought out informational with you, right? Because I knew what I was looking for, and in the first conversation, I was like, yep, okay.
Yeah.
Checks all the boxes and then some, right? So it was pretty easy to say, this is what I've been seeking for a while. And there just had been some life changes in there that had prevented me before that. But I had learned that a lot of people at big gyms don't work out that much. And then people in kind of small gyms with tight-knit communities are there multiple times a week, right?
Yeah, more consistently. Yeah.
And the gyms are full and active, and knew I wanted that kind of community. So I think that's what really led to the first go around, even before having a child.
Yeah.
Weren't you following Christopher, like some guy on YouTube, like a big trainer?
Yeah,
that's
it was the starting strength.
Oh, yeah. So that's how you found. So
Mark
Paul,
Ribito,
Mark. Yeah. So Mark Ribble Paul is like one of his essential disciples early on.
Exactly.
And so he built out that model, and which I think is an effective model. It's like it prioritizes strength. And I think there's like some flaws in it because it does get a little dogmatic sometimes. But then we kind of have a little more all-encompassing model that kind of bring in some other things.
And I don't know much. I never really worked under that model, so I don't know that much about it. But one thing we've really appreciated about GTS is if we feel either like we have a small injury or something a little larger, one thing we've found I always feel like I'm complaining, and if I'm like, oh, my forearm really hurts again, right? But what I've appreciated about all the people, all the coaches at GTS is they take quite seriously that injury is a limiting factor, right? So
Yeah.
I get a lot of input, and might be different input from different coaches. Everybody puts their 2 cents in, and then it's really on me to take that back and pursue it. So you've adjusted. I did have bicep forearm pain, and you really adjusted what I was doing so that I could continue building some of that supporting strength, but work through it. And I think what I've found is I go so far on each lift that I hit a roadblock, and it might be pain or injury, right? And then it might take a while until I'm back to the level that I want to be at, but then I'm coming through it with a different framework. And
Yeah.
I think you guys are pretty intentional about not allowing that to be an excuse or to be the end. For some, that might be the end of really working out, right? Just, oh, I'm injured. I'm not lifting the same amount. I'm going to just take a pass and do something else. So for us, that's
Yeah.
been
That's a great point
part of the
because
sauce.
there's a real delicate balance. I've swung the pendulum all different ways as in the last 16 years. Initially, when you first start training, your value proposition as a trainer is I need my clients to succeed. So the metrics are strength that need to get stronger, right? And sometimes what happens is you're rewarding patterns that aren't necessarily ideal for them, but they get a good number out of it, right? They feel good. You feel good because you're like, oh, I achieved this, whatever that is, 225 squat, 315 squat, whatever that number is for each person, right? And so you get a lot of it, a lot of reward. Like a lot of our reward comes from you guys setting PRs, and it feels pretty good for us too when we do testing days and stuff. And then the downside, obviously, is if we keep on letting that happen, eventually someone will break, and then it sets them back 6 months, and so we've seen that pattern over and over again over the years. And so at some point we overcorrected and we over had very high standards for everyone, and then almost to the point where it's too slow of a progression that they don't enjoy it. Right. And so we've tried to find this balance of like when we practice something and then, okay, let's test around here to see how this practice is going to transfer over into your testing. And then you get, oh, wow, this actually works. Right. And then you've got some buy-in where you can like, oh, I can keep on practicing under a load that doesn't necessarily scare me all the time. And then, so we've tried to like, we basically swung one way or another. And I think a little more centered now and trying to find maybe this early stage, we give you some standards and guidelines. It's all consistent. We let people deviate from those standards a little bit. And then at some point we have to hold them back in. And usually it shows up on maybe a testing day of some sort. We're like, all right, now we see where you're starting to break. We might need to recalibrate some of these numbers a little bit or recalibrate your form standard. So I think when we talk about progressions, sometimes people only think about reps and sets, right? Or weight. And a lot of times improving on a form and getting better muscular control or not having pain in a lift, right, can be a progression as well. Higher form standards, better ranges of motion. So we've expanded our encyclopedia or arsenal of improvements or progressions that we can do with people, right? And so sometimes it, like you said, if you brush up against that injury or your form is starting to degrade a little bit, we might need to take one small step back to take 2 steps forward. I've lived this several times in my life with injury or open heart surgery, whatever, where I had to restart from the beginning. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually a good opportunity for me to clean things up, get better control, and then I'll be probably better off for it later. But actually, that's a good segue into June. So you dealt with a back injury at some point in time, right? You were training, and then at some point you felt that pop, right?
I did. Yeah, I think being type A, I would say higher number.
Yeah.
And initially, you guys had me on a plan that I think it would take 3 reps of this and then move higher if you can do it, smaller reps, which was great because I was able to like increase in weight really fast. That's when I got hurt. And then you guys put me on a program where it's like 6 reps, lower weight. And I actually like that way better. It just mentally, physically, I think it just suits me better.
Yeah.
So I'm on that plan. But yeah, even through that back pain, I kept showing up, maybe not at 100%, but like just still showing up to the gym and doing what I can and slowly rebuilding that. I think that was the key. Like,
Yeah.
don't
Controlling what you
stop.
can control. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I think whenever someone gets hurt in our gym. We try to like schedule some one-on-one time right away. Let's either get you out of pain if we can, maybe work around it if we can, figure out what we can and can't control, and then give you some type of plan to mitigate any type of loss, because you don't want to lose all this hard-earned strength. We can work around the issue. We can hopefully fix the issue over time. We can get you figure out, diagnose what the problem areas are. Because sometimes, like you said, we get a lot of people that every time they start, they're always behind. So they're always trying to catch up with where they want to be. I think that's we talked about this on another episode too. I think of once you start lifting, you're forever small or you're forever weak, because there's always the next milestone to hit. So I feel like every time when people start with us is like they're especially when you're motivated, like you, June, like you're like motivated to put on muscle and to get stronger, and you're going to fight this stuff off. And I think that more is better mentality sometimes bites us in the ass at some point. We've all been there. So it's just like it's a normal progression that people go through. Is you don't know what you can get away with until something stops you, and then you have to reset. So I had this example I've used a bunch of times where I did for like right around when Tiago was born, I stopped back squatting and I just did hack squat for the year, for almost an entire year. And I had this like methodical progression where I'd go up and I started, and basically over the course of a year, it went up over 100 pounds in this lift. And there was one day in particular where I was like, oh, I feel good. I think I was accumulating about 50 reps in total. And I was I was like 1 or 2 reps away from this thing that would allow me to jump the weight up a little bit. And I did one more rep than I was supposed to for that day. And I was so dialed in that one additional rep, I felt something go in my groin area. And I was like, oh no. And it took me back to almost back to zero. I had to take like 100 pounds back off of it. I was like, if I just would have stayed the course, it would have been, who knows where I would have been right now.
Why were you not doing squat, like regular squat?
I think at the time when we were going through that transition I was trying to do initially, and then I was probably sleeping about 3 hours a night because I was doing most of the feeding. Vanya was having a tough time. Like she can't wake up and go back to sleep really easily. And at some point in time, she stopped breastfeeding and we went to formula, and I was actually able to help out. And I can wake up and go back to sleep real easily. So I finally felt like I could contribute to the birth of our son and give her a little break. And so I think at the time I was like, I had a very limited window to train, and squatting would require me to warm up more and move more plates around. And it was just like more time consuming. Whereas hack squat, I could probably get down in 10 to 15 minutes. I could warm up faster with the selectorized machine. So I kept the squat pattern, but I just pivoted to a machine instead. Yeah. And the same reason why I actually transitioned over to trap bar deadlift instead of regular deadlift was the same thing. It was like, I can just lever that thing up, put the plates on faster. So my workout time was consolidated and I could still get the same things. But yeah, I had this vision of I was going to compete again. I was humbled pretty quickly after those first 3 months of him waking up. He was colicky and we had a really rough go those first couple months sleeping wise.
That's hard.
But yeah, I made the point of, all right, I'm just going to do something. And if I have to make it easier to do, that's fine.
I would add one thing similar to that's worked really well for us. Jason, I think you tricked us into the gym more often. This is probably 6 months ago or so. You were like, you walked through all the science and the training philosophy of just coming in and doing like at least one hard set of everything.
Yeah.
And that's really worked for me. But I say tricked because a lot of times I'd be like, okay, I'll just, instead of pushing it off, I'll just go in and do one set of everything.
Yeah.
And then I get there and I'm like, I'm already here. Just do the whole workout. Otherwise, when I pass my workout record into Jared, he's just going to think I'm a weenie. So it's like any trick you can get to get in the gym on a regular basis, I think is so valuable because once you're there and you just feel stronger, there's just a lot of synergy, right? You want to do more, you feel better in the rest of your life.
Yeah, for those that are listening in that don't really know this progression, but usually when you're motivated, when people come in and you're in this like novice phase and everything's like new and shiny, you come in, you're super motivated to get in there. Maybe you have a goal that you're after, and the cadence at which you improve is super fast. You're like Superman the first several months, right? You get stronger, you put on muscle, all the weights are going up, the reps are going up every time you come in, everything's going up all at once. And then this intermediate advanced stage slaps you in the face And it's like, hey, listen, you got to slow this down because this cadence is not going to work for me anymore. Your body's operating at its potential. And now you know, all right, this is going to be a little more slow and methodical grind. And so sometimes what happens is you know what you're in for. You're like, oh, I know this is going to be an hour workout, or this is going to be a 90-minute workout, depending on what my cadence is here. And so I think giving yourself permission to come in, like you said, do one set. You can make this a 25-minute workout, or you can use the volume and set style to dial it up if you've got more time, or dial it down. But you know that I'm just going to show up and do at least one set of a couple things. So this way you're preserving the habit of showing up, and you're in control of whatever life is throwing at you. You can dial it up or down. And so there was one point I did probably 6 to 8 months where I just came in and did one set of almost everything, but I was able to get in more frequently. So my workouts were only like maybe 30, 45 minutes at a time, which kept things very digestible, easy to do, easy to carve out time for that. Right.
Yep.
But good for us, family is pretty important right now. Jason, I'm wondering what's motivated you to kind of focus on current conversation included, just working with families and parents. They're in some of the workout world, they're like the gym has-beens, right? But you've really leaned into enabling people with young kids or older kids to keep that going.
I'm living it right now. I think when I first started business, I wanted to train athletes. And then I was a certified strength and conditioning specialist. I got pivoted from the IT industry and I got that certification. And when I first started training athletes, it was super fun, but you realize they're really seasonal. They don't have any money either. So it's not like a great business model unless you're working with like teams and always have a rotation of teams. So it's a grind. And then most of the people that I probably resonated most with were people that had desk jobs, regular people that just trying to figure out how to build a love for training. And all they knew is either bodybuilding or beating yourself into your ground with high intensity interval training. Right. I introduced them to a lot of these lifts and you realize, oh, it's a little slower. It's a little more methodical. There's a lot of reward because it's objective. And so it was really rewarding for me to actually teach these people these type of things. Right. And plus I lived that desk job. So I have 6 years in the IT industry, living on a plane 50 weeks out of the year. I had to control. That's how I fell into this gym, the sport of powerlifting to begin with, because I couldn't really play any sports anymore because I didn't have a consistent routine. I was always on a plane. I was working crazy hours. So the gym, I could always find a gym. I think at one point I had probably 5 different gym memberships because I was willing to invest in something that was convenient for me, because I know if it's not convenient, I'm not going to do it. So when I was in different locations, I would have 1 or 2 different gym memberships depending on what kind of lift I was doing, because some places were better for one thing and one was better for another. And then even when I got back home, I had one group of people that did this thing on Friday and I was like, oh, I'll jump in with those people. So I probably had, at the time when gyms were like really cheap, right? Maybe $250, $300 worth of gym memberships spread across different states. Right. Yeah. But that's the thing, is like figuring out like systems, and sometimes you're willing to pay for it or not. But I was like, it was a priority for me to get some type of training in like that. And I think I've learned, and even now, you'd think it'd be easy for a trainer to get their training in because they're like living in a gym. But once you make your passion your job, the last thing you want to do is spend more time in your job. I think most of our trainers experience that transition as well, where they join this thing, they want to be a coach, they become a coach, and all of a sudden their training kind of falls by the wayside. And it's really unfortunate. Everyone goes through that transition. But so I have to realize I usually tack on my workout either before or after my coaching shift. So I make sure I love doing it before, ideally, just because I have like a deadline. I have to be done by this time. So it keeps me very efficient. When I do it after my coaching shift, you guys have probably seen me in there. I dilly-dally, I work a little bit. It ends up taking me forever. So I'm in the trenches. I guess the long answer here is I'm in the trenches with you guys, especially since having a kid. I've got a lot of projects that I'm working on too. So finding time to actually work out and justify it is hard. But I know that even when I'm stressed out, I've learned that's the time when I need to work out the most. And when people say, I don't have time, I've got too much going on, work is flaring up, whatever, that's my argument to them is I find working out even for 10 or 15 minutes makes me a better human being to be around. I can tolerate, I am more patient. I feel like I have at least checked my own box for the day and I can be more present for everyone else. And I think as parents, you guys probably feel it. There's that guilt, especially for moms,
Mhm.
I would imagine, that mom guilt that everyone talks about of taking care of yourself first is just time away from your
Mhm.
family. Right. And so I'm trying to make the argument for people that you taking care of yourself first is better for your family. Right. You're more
Yep.
present, you're more available, you're more patient, hopefully. And
Yep.
then plus they get the added benefit of seeing parents that work out. And then hopefully that'll be something that's just normal for them that like, hey, I got to make time for my training today moving forward, whether
Yep.
that's sport or getting better in the future, physically better in some way.
Our son constantly talks about working
Oh,
out.
does he
He's
really?
3. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, when I'm going to work out and I'm going to be so strong and I'm going to be able to lift you, mommy. And
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
be bigger than daddy.
Man, good for him. He was super at Chigo's birthday. He was like, I mean, he's starting to get pretty athletic. So,
Yeah. We don't know where he gets it from.
Matt,
Joining GTS has really, I think, in many ways transformed our lives because we realized that, okay, we're working out regularly. We need to prioritize our diet, make sure that we're eating enough protein, prioritize sleep. But it's really holistically, I think, really changed our whole lives.
wow,
Not just working out and getting strong, but everything about our lives has changed because of GPS.
very cool. Thank
Yeah.
you. So, just to wrap this up, I know it's been probably about 45 minutes for you guys. I don't want to take up too much of your day. I usually ask this question. If you were to meet another couple that has a toddler right now and they're on the fence of I don't have enough time to work out. What would be so your former selves, if you will? What's your advice to them to either get started or what's the best piece of advice you can give to those people?
Darren, you want to go first?
Treats, and I'm to all my mom friends, I've already told all of them about GS and told them that they need it. It's not they want to do it, they need it. That's we're aging, our bodies need it. It's not an
Yeah.
option. We need it. I would say get go in for a month.
Yeah.
Just go do it and see how you feel and go from there.
What about people that don't have access to us? What would you recommend they do? Yeah. Like maybe they haven't trained, they're in this spot where if you can imagine yourself back when you just finished your pregnancy and you're in this spot, what would you recommend they do in that point?
I think my approach would be for us, having a child has forced us to list our priorities and really acknowledge to one another what the priorities are. Definitely number 1 and 2 for us is faith and fitness, or
Nice.
excuse me, faith and family.
Yeah.
Fitness does not fit as number 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Work no longer really fits as number 1 or 2 for us. So it's faith and family. After that, there's a lot of priorities that you want to give time to.
Yeah.
And we've found a way through our workout to gift each other some fitness, right? To give it the right amount of time with not every priority is the top priority, but all priorities still need their own space and time. This has really been the way that by working together, carving out those times. And I do believe, like what June said, the fitness has helped a lot of other areas, right?
Yeah.
It's taken some stress out of work. It's taken some pressure out of even when you're a young parent, you just feel like you're with your child all weekend long, right?
Yeah.
Early on, all week long, you feel like you really haven't been out of the house. This doesn't take this long to go out for an hour, work out. Sometimes I'm there early Saturday before he's up, just to carve that time out. But it really gives back to the rest of the time because I've got some beta endorphins, I've relaxed, I've done something for myself.
Yeah.
So I think just that contract between spouses, partners to say, we're going to make a time for this and we're going to right size the priority. Yes, I'd like to do more for sure. I'm at 3 workouts a week, really trying to get to 4, right?
Yeah.
On a regular basis and finding some ways to do it. Some weeks and other weeks it might fall to 2. But I think that kind of agreement and challenge between each other that we've created as a couple has been the key for us. I don't know.
Yeah. That seems to be the theme too with the other couple that I talked to is like they talked about this, they're making it a priority in their lives. Wherever that sits, it's definitely up there, right? They talked about this is John and Sarah in the first episode. They talked about we're training until to be 80. Like
Mhm.
you guys were saying, we don't want to have to, I'm sure the spouse will take care of you, but we don't want to have to put our spouses in that position. So it's, I just think you guys being able to be on the same page and having a partner, and you're just fortunate because both of you train out of our facility together. So you both have it as a priority. You both have this investment into us, where a lot of maybe couples don't have that. And so they might be almost being made to be felt guilty by their partner for taking time for themselves or working out. It's time away from the family, those kind of things. So that's really interesting. I didn't really even consider that initially. That's one of the highest priority things I would imagine to get with a partner and a spouse and having kids is like getting that agreement up front that, can I make this a priority? Do we both agree that this is a priority for each other? And then your point is like, how do we schedule this and allow each other to do this on these times? Yeah. My wife and I are always working through that over the weekend. She wants me to take all the time off on Sunday and we do everything as a family for the entire Sunday. And I'm more I think we need to carve out some windows for us to flip flop because I'm sure you guys have gone through this. You transition, all you do is you feel like you're swapping off who's got responsibility for your child at any given time. And so we're trying to figure out like, what is our family time? What are times that I can allow her to take care of herself, whether it's even a nap or a shower or whatever it is that she wants to do, a walk. And then I can get carved out time to do maybe a little bit of work or workout or whatever it is that makes me a better human, right?
Yep.
Or just rest time. It's a hard balance with your spouse. So you're absolutely right. Like just having the right spouse and being able to communicate that is probably critical.
Not everybody's going to be as lucky as me in that regard, but
good. That's good, man. Get some brownie points for that. Thank you guys so much. Any other kind of closing thoughts that you guys have or no? Ready to get back to your day? Thank you so much for doing this with me. I appreciate you guys.
our pleasure.
I know it's like a weird thing to get on to a call like that, knowing that other people might be listening, but you guys did great. And then grab a t-shirt on me as well as a thank you. I just appreciate your time and you guys probably need an upgrade anyway. So,
okay. Jason, we truly love GTS and the community that you've created. We truly do. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And appreciate you guys for investing in me. And awesome story I'll tell about you guys too for Thiago's birthday is Thiago was obsessed. For anyone that's like listening and doesn't know the story, Thiago is still obsessed with fire trucks and all things trucks. And I had told Chris and June about this, and we had a 2-year-old birthday party for him, and we're out there playing. It's a fire truck theme, so we had a bunch of things. And as we're at this pool area, we just saw this like old vintage fire truck drive by, and we're like, "Oh, what are the odds?" And we pick him up, and he's super excited. And then all of a sudden, we just see this thing stop and start backing into the parking lot, and we're like, I'm looking at Vonnie, like, "Did you get a fire truck rental for this kid's birthday?" She's, "No, did you?" "No, of course not." And all of a sudden I see Chris backing this truck in, and it was just like such a cool thing. Like maybe you can tell a little bit about what you're involved in over there, but what are the odds of that?
Yeah, the California Fire Museum and Safety Learning Center is organization really based from Orange County firefighters from a wide range of fire departments. But I've worked with them professionally and now volunteer on their advisory council as they look to have a permanent location in the Great Park in Irvine.
Yeah.
Their passion is really the safety education, but the trucks are so cool that they will plan a very modern museum that includes the vintage fire trucks, but they just have a really cool collection of trucks and memorabilia that honors the fire department while hopefully helping kids learn about safe homes and safety in them.
Yeah. You made every kid in that neighborhood like ecstatic when they saw it.
It
There's a lot of young
out.
kids. Yeah. And we got a ton of cool pictures in that. Maybe I'll include that at the end of this thing. But thanks again. I'll let you guys get going.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you. We'll talk soon.
Bye.